Hey guys, welcome back to the MX Garage. Today we're gonna finish the steering by swapping out those pulleys to brand new ones, followed by finishing the knuckles, and of course welding the tabs to it. But before we do that, I have to calculate the caster, camber and toe, so I mount everything correctly, and in the end we're gonna go through the full alignment. So I will get started with that and show you the entire process. I drilled and tapped the ends of the knuckles and cleaned up the surfaces I will weld here as well, and I prepared 2 of those. I will drill some holes. The reason why I have the angle beam here, because I can place it like this, and then I can use this. This is to align my camber. Then I have a surface where I can click this on, since I can't click it on the wheels. It's crucial that I weld this straight. I will do that by using some of those magnets. But before that, I will drill out these spots. Now that I'm done drilling all these holes, I can finally get to welding. I drilled multiple holes, so when I attach this part, I have some adjustment possibilities. I'm not quite sure which of those I will need, but I have plenty of adjustments, so it should be fine. I cleaned up the part and positioned it for welding. I used 2 90-degree magnets and aligned this plate so it's horizontal of this plate. And as you can see, my cuts haven't been perfect and this corner over here is actually lifted. But that's alright since I'm gonna weld it. And I aligned these holes with this axle. So let's get to welding. So let me tell you about something which I do for the first time, so I'm definitely an expert. Caster, camber and toe. Caster, camber and toe are the values you can adjust when you do your alignment. The order you have to align things in is caster, then camber, then toe. And let me go over what they mean. When talking about caster, there's positive and negative caster. When you imagine the wheel and the front is facing this way, so the vehicle normally drives this way, this would be positive caster. So the axis around the steering is like this. This would be negative. If you have positive caster, the wheels will automatically go back to a straight position, like in a car. When you slip the steering wheel, the wheels will go more or less straight and will help with straight line stability. So for lawnmower racing, you should aim somewhere between 10 and 12%. My rear wheel is much bigger than my front wheel, which makes the lawnmower lean, more front heavy, but it also changes my caster. I did some calculations before, and I will have somewhere around 3% caster. So I will go with a value of 14% of caster. That is caster, so let me explain camber. Camber is the angle of the wheel. If you imagine the lawnmower like this would be 0 degrees camber, this would be negative, and this would be positive. So if the top part of the wheel points to the lawnmower, it's negative. The reason why you want negative camber in racing applications is because when you're going around a corner, the weight balance changes and the wheel would be straightened out. Since you already start with an offset, you will have more tractions in the corner and thereby you can go faster. What you typically want in a racing lawnmower is somewhere between -1 and -3 degrees. So I will start with -2 and see how it feels. So what is toe? Toe is when both wheels point towards each other, like in the first picture. Then it's called toe in, and toe out is the opposite, when both wheels point out. The downside by having toe is that the wear on the wheels is more excessive. So in a road car, typically you would aim for 0 toe. What I could see online is that people go from 0 to 3mm toe. Now you probably wonder why it's not in degrees like the others, but in millimeters. And that is because you measure the front of the wheels compared to the back of the wheels. And then you have the two distances which you can subtract, and then you get your toe. So now that that is unclear, I will continue and figure out how I actually will mount those. Is the lawnmower level right now? And if not, I need to adjust it, but let's get through that now. I finished welding the knuckle nuts onto the frame. However, I didn't record any of that. Now I will assemble it, and then I will show you how I measured things and which compromises I had to do with the tools I have. I got it assembled, at least more or less. I'm missing this beam here, which actually it turns out is a little bit of a challenge, but I will get to that in a bit. As you can see, I got the knuckles on and everything is nice and straight. Let me get you a different view. Here's a different view, and you can clearly see the caster I have here. However, it was a little bit difficult to get it precise, since I needed multiple hands and I only have 2. I needed to hold this nut in place while welding it, figuring out if the angle was correct by using this one. And as you can see, it only goes from -6 to +6. And I mentioned I wanted to have 14 degrees. So I dialed it all the way down to -6, and then I got it up to +6. It kind of worked. It was a little bit janky, so now I have 12 degrees of camber, which should be fine. And don't look at my welds too closely. They're not beautiful, but they will last. The next thing I have to figure out is this. This one can pivot down, that's not the issue. The issue is that these rods are way too long, and they have 2 threads. I can make a thread, but I only have tools for metric, and these are imperial. So what I have to do now is figure out how long these should be, and then cut both threads and weld them together. It's gonna be a little jank, but I think it will work. So far I only tagged it, but now it's installed just to see how it works. I got it as tight as possible right now, and you can't really see it from that angle, but right now it's towed in a little bit. So I want to loosen it a little bit, and then I can just turn it, and roughly here is 0, so no toe at all, and from that point on forward it's gonna be toe out. I will continue welding it and building the other one, and then when the wheels are on. Ta-da! This is how it looks. I'm quite happy with most of the steering, how it turned out. It's really snappy and good. There's still some things I need to adjust, like the toe in and out. Right now it should be at 0 toe. I will need to double check. Something I noticed though is that these hang joints I got are really shit. So I will replace those and find a different solution. Something which isn't just like, because everything else is stiff except this part. You can also see when it's traveling. Everything until this point is quite responsive, but this is like falling behind. So I will definitely have a look on that. The next step is to mount the engine again, see if everything clears as it should. Immediately I can see that I'm definitely hitting the oil fader right here. The other side seems fine. It's a little snug, but that's mainly this side with the oil filter. Do I really need an oil filter? I think you can see it really good from here. This wire is not going straight because of the oil filter, so I need to reroute it. And I might need to delete this one and add another pulley thing around here. The steering is finally done. I figured the last things out. Let me show you the last thing I did. The oil filter was in the way, so I had to route the wire down. And since the chain otherwise would be in an angle and it would obstruct the pulley system in there, I had to have another pulley which then routes the wire up again. This resulted in that I had to remove this part. However, I still have it on the other side, so there's no big issue of tensioning it. It just takes a little longer to align the steering wheel to the wheels. So now I have a quite responsive steering and I really like it. The only thing missing, and that's not gonna be today, are those. They came in the kit, but that's the thing which gives lag. But thank you so much for watching until the end. I'm really happy how the steering went. And since you watched till the end, I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek what's gonna happen next time. As you can see here, we're gonna work on the motor. We're gonna install a tachomat, a bigger fuel filter for better flow, 34mm carburetors with different setups of air filter. So we have the standard one, trumpet one, and I also have those laying around, which would look pretty sick, but this might be a little bit overkill. In addition, we also have a new throttle cable, and those are not new, but those will be modified a little bit. So thank you again for watching and see you next time.